Hello, everyone. Thank you for your patience this morning. I want to thank you all for joining us here today. My name is John Vetter, and I work for the State Procurement Office as the Health and Human Services Section Chief. Let me thank you all for attending today. And this is my colleague operating you can stand up there, Christopher. This is Christopher Amandi. He also works at the State Procurement Office. We understand that the audience today includes new providers, existing providers, profit and nonprofit organizations, as well as some procurement staff and community members. The training today will provide on procurement and other relevant procedures, as well as providing appropriate resources for continued learning and support. The training presentations today start more general and become more detailed and specific as we progress through the three presentations. I'm confident that there will be valuable information for existing providers and new providers and state procurement staff. Some of the stuff you're going to hear in my presentation, if you're existing providers, may be kind of review. But I guarantee you, even for the existing providers, there will be some information that will likely be new to you. And I appreciate, I'm nervous, by the way. I'm nervous. And I couldn't possibly memorize all of this. So I'm going to be looking at my notes quite a lot. So each presentation is approximately about an hour or less. There'll be a lengthy breakout session at the end for questions and answers. So what we're going to attempt to do is do the following. State Procurement Office presentation, Department of Human Services Homeless Programs presentation, federal grants presentation, and copies of the presentation will be available in the near future on the State Procurement website. The State Procurement Office acts as a strategic partner to promote procurement lifecycle excellence, program success, and government accountability. Throughout this presentation, I'm going to be referring to the State Procurement Office as the SPO, just so you know what I'm talking about, but that's the State Procurement Office. My mission at the Health and Human Services Procurement Division is simply to help those who help others. We're dedicated to supporting the procurement professionals, the providers, and indirectly the service populations. If there's one takeaway that I leave you with here today is that you can always call the procurement office. Procurement can be complicated, but we're a third party outside of the agency that you may be working with, Department of Human Services or Department of Health. We are kind of a resource for you. I'll be covering the following topics: Act 162, partnering with the state procurement website, laws and rules, Hawaii Compliance Express, Hawaii Award Notice Data System, Hawaii State e-procurement system, the Procurement Wizard, Procurement Lifecycle, and the Cooperative Purchasing Program. I will try to provide you with key takeaways and why it's important. It's going to be kind of top level, but if you have further questions, please, at the breakout session, come talk to me if you have any specific questions. Let me share with you why we're here today. The Senator kind of touched on it. The legislature found that homeless outreach and homeless programs were lacking in rural areas of the state. Basically, there's more infrastructure, groups, and providers on Oahu. While we could grow capacity here, obviously we have serious problems here too. The intent of the bill primarily is to increase capacity in rural areas of the state and help assist nonprofits in understanding procurement better. There are three main goals that are equal goals that were set for this event. We want to increase the knowledge base, tools, and resources available to nonprofit homeless outreach programs and homeless program providers, Second, build capacity, like I mentioned. And third, foster coordination between the service providers, the state and county governments to increase effectiveness and successful outcomes. The State Procurement Office is a shared resource serving all stakeholders. Like I mentioned, we support the state procurement professionals, service providers, citizens, and indirectly the service population. We provide training, tools, templates, there's stuff online, human resources also, like myself and Christopher, to help you improve your procurements, have successful outcomes. We want to encourage new providers and existing providers to work with the state. You know, State Procurement Office is here to help you. We're not a scary organization. We're friendly. Come talk to us. So let's, regardless of your role at the State Procurement Office official website is the ultimate resource for anyone engaged in partnering with the state for contract work. We'll be referring to this website extensively. It can be found at spo.hawaii.gov, and you can access the laws, procedures, online procurement systems, tools, templates, forms, on-demand training. You can find new business. I'm going to cover all of this. While the State Procurement Office is the ultimate resource, you could still call us. This site is important because it is the gateway to doing business with the state. That said, let's jump right in. The state laws and rules are the foundation of the procurement. The references section of the SPO website is where you will find this foundational information. The top red arrow is where you can find the Hawaii Revised Statute, referred to often as the HRS, and the Hawaii Administrative Rules, referred to as the HAR. In addition, the procurement will also help you understand the Hawaii Revised Statute, the Procurement Wizard, and administrative rules in a chronological manner. If you click on the references section, you will be taken to the following page, which the state procurement, the HRS and the HAR are there. These are the legal foundation that provide procurement authority and establish the rules for all procurement. Any procurement you participate in are governed by these statutes, rules, and procurement circulars. Like the private sector, the state wants the best value for its purchases. Furthermore, using taxpayer funds creates additional requirements and duties throughout the procurement process. State agencies, state and county agencies must follow these standardized rules and procedures. The State Procurement Office oversees two procurement statutes. HRS 103D, known as Hawaii Public Procurement Code for Goods, Services, and Construction, and HRS 103F for purchase of health and human services. That's primarily what you folks and myself deal with. That is the statute that we follow. The State Procurement Office oversees the procurement statutes, the policies, procedures, tools, training, and is a service agency to the various departments and community providers. Being able to find and understand and comply with these laws is very important, obviously. From the very smallest contract to the largest, we always remain ethical and compliant with all applicable laws. So you want to do business with the state, or you want to continue to do business with the state. A great place to start is Hawaii Compliance Express. Hawaii Compliance Express, or HCE, is an electronic system that allows vendors doing business with the state or the county agencies to quickly and easily obtain online proof that they are compliant with applicable laws. Registration is required, and there is a nominal $12 a year fee. Click on the green Hawaii Compliance Express box, and you'll be taken to this site. Hawaii Compliance Express is a service, basically, so that you can get a certificate of vendor compliance. It's a single certificate that eliminates the need to obtain individual paper copies signed and stamped from the IRS, the Department of Labor, DCCA, and the State Tax Office. So you can still do it the old-fashioned way if you prefer, But HCE is a service that includes real-time monitoring of your status of compliance with each agency and will automatically notify you by email anytime your compliance status changes. Why is this important? First, it saves you time. We can only put contracts out for folks that are companies that are compliant. So state agencies must obtain proof of compliance prior to awarding a contract and also prior to final payment of the contract. So if you want to do business, you need, this is a very helpful tool to sign up for and have a compliance, a single form that does all of that for you. The next thing we're going to cover is, so you're compliant now and you're looking for potential contracts with the state for homeless outreach services or homeless housing programs in rural areas of the state. So go to the Hawaii Awards Notice Data System, that's a mouthful, from the SPO website. You just click on that big orange box there. So perhaps you're looking for potential health and human services contracts that may directly or indirectly benefit homelessness in rural areas of the state. This is not just homeless shelters. As we all understand, homelessness is a complex issue with many causes, many unique service populations, and therefore many potential solutions. Homeless services encompass a broad range of vital services. Perhaps you're looking for potential contracts related to vocational training, food service, medical health service, substance abuse treatment, crisis intervention, homeless children, legal assistance or advocacy, child development services. You go to the Hawaii Awards and Notice Data System. I'm going to call it HANDS because that's what we all call it here, HANDS. So go to HANDS, and it provides a single, user-friendly display for all notices of solicitation or potential contracts. And there's no cost to log in or to browse all the opportunities. Here you'll be able to view all bidding opportunities, and if you click on the bidding opportunity box, as you can see, when I created this presentation, there were 227 available contracts opportunities out there. So there's 227 potential contracts where we are seeking providers. When you click on the search, you'll be taken to the following page. The search page will display an up-to-date listing of notices and solicitations, requests for information, and other solicitation notice used to assist in the procurement of goods, services, construction, professional services, and health and human services throughout the entire state. The procurement notices of solicitation, including those on the State of Hawaii e-procurement system, or Hawai'i Pro, are automatically placed into this system. There are a variety of search functions to find potential work in areas that you're interested in. So you can simply enter keywords, say vocational, outreach, homeless, and open solicitations will automatically populate matching those keywords. Or you can search by a variety of other parameters. So you could say you want to look at only opportunities on Maui, for instance. Then everything will come up for Maui, and you can filter and sort and slice and dice and look for what services you provide and go out and try to get that work. In this example, I typed the keyword home and the category health and human services. As you can see, there was one active solicitation or bidding opportunity. When you click on the active solicitation, you'll be taken to all the important information for the solicitation. So if you find something you're interested in, you go to this area, and it will show, when you click on the active solicitation, you'll see all of this types of information. I'm not going to go into every one of these, but I do want to point out some of the key areas. The solicitation description is what is the service that's needed. The approximate funding is the potential annual funding for that particular contract. project start date, projected end date, offered due date. So when does the proposal need to be submitted is very, very critical. This is very important because late offers by law need to be tossed. So if the solicitation ends at 4 p.m. January 15th and it comes in at 4:05, technically, by the letter of the law, it needs to be tossed. So make sure you get your stuff in advance of that date. In case you have any technical issues, Wi-Fi's down, dog ate your homework, whatever it is, just make sure you make that on time. Also, you'll be able to see where the service is, the islands, is it a statewide contract? Is it just one island, and so on. Also, all the files. You'll be able to see everything that's attached to the solicitation. Will include proposal instructions, specifications, terms and conditions, and any other potential documents that are necessary for you to build your proposal. And then finally, another important bit of information is the orientation meeting. It's important because in almost all cases for health and human services contracts, solicitations for contracts, there's an orientation meeting where providers can come and meet with the agency that's looking for providers, discuss the solicitation, try to understand parts that they don't understand, ask questions. It's the open forum, give and take, so that you can better understand and hopefully get as many of those questions answered as you possibly can, so that when you're building your proposal, while you can still ask questions during building your proposal, this orientation meeting is kind of a way to kick things off. Why is hands important? Well, it's pretty self-explanatory, I guess. You need to know what the state is looking for in order to submit a timely and winning proposal. It's very important that there's someone in your organization that is monitoring hands daily. New requirements come up daily. There's no rhyme or reason why one agency, I don't want to put it that way, but all the different agencies that have different procurements they're working on at different times for different reasons, and other contracts end and they need to place new ones in to backfill them. So there's no particular time of year that's better than another. You need to have somebody looking at hands, keyword searching, or whatever parameters that you think will cover your particular agency, and somebody that's popping in and just taking a look at it. Okay, nothing new today. Boom, they're done. That's just one thing that they have to do. And because what you don't want to happen is somebody checking it weekly or every couple of weeks, because if something has been released and it's got a 30-day turnaround for a proposal to be in, and you're 2 weeks behind the power curve, you're like, oh my goodness, like this is something we could do. This is right up our alley, but you're already 2 weeks behind the curve, and you missed the orientation, and you're just going to be you're struggling. So I don't want to see that happen to anybody. So please check that site. There's another system that allows providers to see bidding opportunities, and the only difference with this one is, or the significant difference is that you can provide your proposals directly online via the system, and it's awarded through the system. So it's the state procurement system, e-procurement system, is called Hawai'i Pro, or Hawaii ePro. You can issue solicitations, receive responses, and you issue the awards. The hand system that I previously discussed will show you these opportunities, but if it is a high pro solicitation, you would see it on hands, but then you would need to go bid on it on high pro, and you'll be able to tell when you get familiar with the systems how that works. So you can just go to the SPO website and register for Hawaii State e-procurement system. And you create a login, HiPro account, and you can view, similarly to the other site, there's keyword searches. You can look for what your agency does, or your company, nonprofit does best, and you can search for potential work there. Once the buyer or the state agency issues, puts it in the system, they'll upload all the documentation, and you'll be able to see it. Also, there's another great function with the Hawai'i Pro system. Okay, so let me just, is when your company signs up, there's what are called commodity codes. And commodity codes basically just define different types of service. If you do food preparation, food service, food delivery, food storage, and so on, there's a bunch of associated codes, commodity codes, that you can basically attach to your profile, so that anytime any state agency uses HiPro and is doing those commodity codes, you'll be sent a notice that there's a solicitation out there for food transportation, or whatever it is. So it's important that when you set up your HiPro profile, that you draw in as many of these codes, identify as many of these codes that are things that your agency or your company is interested in providing. So, this is an important website. It's kind of self-explanatory like the other. You need to know what the state needs and to provide a winning proposal. So, the Procurement Wizard is another great online resource, okay? The procurement, this is the official guide to the executive branch and other jurisdictions on procurements for goods, services, and construction. The state's primary resource is obviously the Hawaii Revised Statute and the Hawaii Administrative Rules, as well as the Procurement Wizard. The Procurement Wizard does primarily focus on 103, has more information on 103D type procurements, which are not health and human services type procurements. But it does have a lot of information on 103F, statute, rules, templates, trainings, all in a kind of chronological manner. So you can click anywhere in the procurement lifecycle and find out information. So if you're in the solicitation part, you're in the award stage, wherever, these are kind of hot links that you can click on, and it will take you to tools, templates, and it'll help you find which statute and where to find the statutes that kind of govern that particular procurement. The State Procurement Office is continually being developed. It's important because finding legal guidance, tools, tips, it's a great site, and the State Procurement Office is always updating this information. We attempt to keep it current and put in best business practices and the like in order to assist all the stakeholders. So this Procurement Wizard graphic is kind of a natural segue to procurement lifecycle. Okay, the procurement lifecycle refers to the full process of procurement from start to finish. The various stages of the procurement lifecycle will be comprised of relatively standard elements across all types of procurements. So they're all going to have some of these steps in one fashion or another. So I'm going to kind of top level explain this. And again, if you have a lot of experience with this, I understand this may be a bit remedial for you, but if you're new, it won't be. And also, if you've been doing it, there may be some things that some information that you can glean that will help you have better outcomes. The remainder of the presentation will provide the procurement lifecycle training or overview, and hopefully that will be beneficial. The procurement planning phase encompasses several key processes in the procurement lifecycle, from identifying and defining a need to determining the most appropriate acquisition method to address that need. The planning phase frames the procurement approach and strategy. Key activities include conducting research, analysis, documenting results, evaluating alternatives, and deciding on the approach. The state and the provider community can and should be involved in this process. There are a variety of 103 statutes that support this mutual planning. So in this planning phase, the 103F statute encourages this collaboration in several areas. 103D procurement for like construction and stuff like that, there are many more limitations on working together with the state in this very early stage process. Like, we don't want a construction company telling us what we need to buy, to put it mildly. Like, we don't, I think you can understand what I mean by that. Health and Human Services, the types of stuff that we're doing are important. It's important work, and we need the folks that have boots on the ground to help us solve these problems. And 103 statute allows for that. Okay, the market research phase. Market research phase is arguably one of the most important phases of the procurement lifecycle. Majority of major decisions are made about the procurement. The key components necessary to manage the contract and award the contract are incorporated prior to solicitation. This is the stage where ideas and potential solutions for building capacity in rural areas can be presented and discussed. Requests for information are done in this phase. Requests for information are posted on hands, that site I mentioned before. And providers should watch for these requests for information and provide responses. The RFI helps agencies develop the solicitation, including but not limited to the work specification, the contract type, the period of performance, or just about any potential element of an upcoming solicitation. So you look on hands, it says there's a request for information. So there's an agency that has some specific questions that they want to pulse the community on. They need to see who's interested, they need to see this, that, or the other. They have some specific questions where they're requesting information from the provider community, or just common citizens. If they're watching this website, they can comment too. And in that, this is where information for molding the future contracts, molding the future specifications comes in. How to best say this is, we need to build capacity in rural areas. So if in this request for information, an agency goes out and says, we need these questions asked, who's interested in doing this homeless outreach program? And this is what the problem we intend to solve or address. In that RFI response back, you can answer all those questions, but what you also need to do is tell us how we can increase capacity. Tell us, is it longer contracts? Is it this approach or that approach? Is it something programmatic, let's say, that would work better? Or you believe, let's just say, you believe that this approach would be beneficial to increasing capacity here. Is it partnering with other agencies? Is it partnering with other nonprofits? You are not bound by your suggestions. Neither is the State Department asking bound by your suggestion. This is an open process. It's a dialogue. So in the RFI process, if you have solutions that we can't think of, that we don't know about, we need you to tell us how to better execute and meet the needs of the citizens of Hawaii, really. A lot of you folks, we are outside of the loop to some respect. We don't have boots on the ground. I mean, I know Harold and his folks are very involved and do the very best they can, but you are a multitude. So anyway, the 103F statute requires that an RFI must be conducted whenever developing an RFP. So at a minimum, a purchasing agency shall prepare, and I'm quoting from the statute, at a minimum, a purchasing agency shall prepare a request for information prior to the development of a request for proposal to obtain community input and facilitate community planning activities. So then I have a whole bunch of stuff written here that I already covered, so I won't say it again. But basically, we strongly encourage you to follow these RFIs, respond, give us information, how to build capacity. How can we get these hard to reach areas? Or if it's not, even so much related to this particular Act 162 and rural areas. If there's other ideas, if you've got bright ideas, bring them to the table because that is a benefit to all of us. Okay, solicitation and award. There is much hard work. Well, this is like where the heavy lifting is, basically, for the state and the provider. A lot of work to be done in the solicitation and award phase. First, the solicitation development is done by the state and potentially, like I said, with input from the providers. The state issues the solicitation on hands or Hawai'i Pro, and then the provider sees the solicitation and jumps into action. Whew, gotta get all your people, get them on it. Then proposal development. The provider begins to develop the proposal, and you can ask the state questions. The proposal questions are either in the orientation phase, or they can be separate, but they're usually always in writing. If it's an orientation type setup where you have a solicitation orientation meeting, all those questions will be bundled up, and all the answers will be provided back out to everybody. So if some other provider asks a great question, and you're going to get the answer to that great question, and so on. And the same with questions that come after the orientation meeting. If somebody sends you if one provider sends a question that's of substance, and it is believed that all the providers should know, then all of that information will go back out to everyone. So no one is at a disadvantage. It's a level playing field. I mean, there may be some situations where it may be a very, very small clarification that wouldn't be worth the effort of telling everybody. But in most cases, any question asked the answers will be provided back out to everyone. So proposal development, you need to be very careful, and I know Harold will be covering some of this, so I won't belabor the point, but it needs to be in the correct format. Whatever the solicitation requests for, it has to be this many pages, it has to be this font, it needs to have this table, it has to have this graph, it needs to speak to this type of work and this type of work, and whatever it says, please do your very best to provide that proposal in the manner requested, because it makes it difficult or impossible to evaluate your proposals. And if it's such a deviation from the request, if the deviation is in a way, your proposal may be deemed non-responsive, meaning it's so far out of left field that we can't even, it's apples to oranges comparison. Everybody else proposed like they were supposed to propose and in the manner and format, and you proposed something that, you know, something else. You only wanted a piece of the work and you wanted to do it totally different than what we were asking, and so we got to just go, okay, well, no. So anyway, the proposal receipt, you get the proposal in on time, we receive it, we record it. Proposal evaluation, the state will evaluate the proposal based only on the evaluation criteria presented in the solicitation. It's important that your proposal address each evaluation criteria well. So there's evaluation criteria, they're defined. You want to try to do well on all of those evaluation criteria. Your proposal should address all of the evaluation criteria and put your best foot forward, and that will give you the best score and best likelihood that you will be awarded a contract. Again, you can have discussions with and questions with the state. And then finally, contract award. The state notifies the non-awarded providers as well as the selected providers, and then you will proceed to mutually executing a contract. Contract management. Contract management is a part of the procurement lifecycle where you monitor and track the requirements of the contract. Are you doing the service that we're requesting? Are you providing the reports that you're contracted to report? Are you serving the community you're supposed to? All of the contractual obligations at this point, there is a dialogue between the contract administrator from the state and somebody in your organization that makes sure that everything is going well. It's pretty simple and self-explanatory, really. It's just managing the contract, trying to make sure that the total performance is in accordance with the contractual commitments. And then closeout, completion and closeout. So it goes from an active contract to a closed contract, basically. All your final reports are submitted, all the work is done, all the money's spent. Whatever it is the contract you're on contract for is complete, all the invoices are paid, and then the contract is officially closed. From the state side as well as the provider side, everybody's happy, and we go, yay, excellent contract. And then this is a best practice, is conduct a review of your lessons learned throughout every single procurement, even if it's just a short meeting, and say, provider, say to yourself, what could have gone easier? Where did we have troubles? Was it managing the contract? Was the proposal development a nightmare, or was it easy? Find out where you can do better and make performance of the contract better, successful outcomes for the service population, or if it's the front end, just the contracting part. Was it difficult to do this? Do we need more in-house experience? Do we need to have some of our people sit with the state procurement office staff to just get a better understanding of what needs to be done or in these areas? Because we have online training. If you have staff that's new and is inheriting a desk of somebody that's hey, you're the new contracts person, there you go. Good luck. Give us a call. We can help. We want to help you succeed, basically. So, close out. Cooperative purchasing program. I would like to end my part of the presentation with an additional benefit to nonprofits who partner with the state. Now, this may be new to some of you, but I know it's new to somebody in this room. Eligible nonprofits can purchase items from the State Procurement Office price and vendor list contracts. So basically, the State Procurement Office negotiates statewide contracts for a variety of goods and services. Gasoline, computer equipment, all kinds of stuff. And so we negotiate at scale. And then we put those negotiated contracts, price lists, they're basic, kind of like a catalog, let's just say. It's a little bit different than a catalog, but you'll understand that analogy. So the cooperative purchasing agreements, currently there are 98 vendor lists with thousands of items, and for all types of services, like I said, copiers, gas, computer equipment, different services too. And so if you have your nonprofit can utilize the pricing that we've negotiated if you qualify. So that's the list. There's 90, whatever I said, 98. And you can keyword search and find these lists and say, oh, okay, great, we can get cheaper gas on Maui than we're paying. We're sending our people to go fill up their, we've got transport vans or whatever, and we can get it for 25 cents a gallon less. Well, why wouldn't you use that? That would just make sense. So it's a huge advantage if you can find contracts that you can utilize. It's a way that you can save money, and it's a pretty clever bill that piece of legislation that's kind of just plopped in to the 103D construction goods and services that allows for this for nonprofits. So how do you do this? So you have to be a tax-exempt nonprofit with a current Health and Human Services contract. So if you have all those three things, you go onto the link here, but you can find it on the SPO website. And you fill out a form. We're the government, so you got to have a form, right? You got to have forms. Got a form. Then you will provide us your tax ID information from the IRS that shows that you're a certified nonprofit, and then give us documentation that you have a current Health and Human Service contract. And oftentimes, because we have a database system, if you just provide the contract number itself, we can look it up and see if it's current. And if it's current, you get put on our list, and then you can engage directly with those providers, the list providers, and contact them directly, and negotiate to have those prices, and most times those prices are honored. There is kind of this small loophole where we say that they don't necessarily have to honor those, but I have never seen a case where a price vendor list would not honor the price that they negotiated to a nonprofit. It wouldn't make sense. I don't know why, but it's a small little loophole, but I've never seen it used. But in general, if we've negotiated at a state level and you can use those nonprofit pricing, then you can. And that's a great thing. So in summary, the SPO website contains reference material, bidding opportunities, e-procurement system, tools, templates, forms, online training. Please take advantage of it. Please call our office. I hope that covering the topics today has helped existing providers as well as state procurement professionals. I hope you've gained a better understanding of how to partner with the state. The State Procurement Office is here. I know I've kind of a broken record, but we're here to help, really. That's our function. We're trainers, teachers, policy wonks. We're here to help you be successful. That's state agency and providers. Thank you for your attention. I really appreciate you all coming out.